Now then. So I thought it'd be a bit of fun after playing a one-hit KO playthrough of Ocarina of Time to do a ranking or tier list of the dungeons. So these are just going to be like my opinions on the dungeons, how I feel about them, where I think they sit. If your opinions are different, that's fine. Because I mean, at the end of the day, all of Ocarina's dungeons really are like S tier, but putting them all in S tier is just too easy. So I need to be a bit more harsh towards them, I think. So I'm going to do a tier list and see how it all goes. Probably really badly, but here we go. So let's start with the very beginning with the Deku Tree. Deku Tree, I think the Deku Tree is a really solid first dungeon, because you don't want your first dungeon to be too easy that people can play it on like autopilot and not really pay attention to it. But you don't want it to be too hard, because it has to introduce the game to new players. So you want it to be good so people want to play more. I think the Deku Tree does do a really good job of that. Like, it introduces the mechanic of burning webs, shooting ice statues, and like pressing switches and stuff. And it's not too difficult, but I don't think it's either too easy. Gorma's a really decent boss as well for the first one. Like, the pattern is quite simple, which I think works for the first boss. So I think the Deku Tree's pretty decent. Thinking about this list, I probably should say this now actually. I don't think any of these dungeons, any of them, sit in E or F. So I don't even know why I've bothered to make E and F, because I don't think any of them sit in there, but they're there anyway. So, where do I want to put the Deku Tree though? Because it's a pretty decent first dungeon. I don't think it's that bad playing it again, so I might put that in like B. B for, it's pretty brilliant. That can go there. It's good. So next up, we've got Dodongo's Cavern. So Dodongo's Cavern has the big Dodongo skull, which I think is really, really good. King Dodongo's pretty decent, and the Lizalfos are pretty decent. However, I'm not that keen on the dungeon itself, like the puzzles and all of that stuff. Like, I don't think as a dungeon it's that interesting to me either. Like, it's just a cavern. Like, inside the Deku Tree is interesting because you're inside a living tree, and Jabu Jabu is interesting because you're inside a living fish. So those to me are quite interesting. But Dodongo's Cavern is just a cavern, and there's only like 3 Dodongos that live in it as well. So for me, I don't know, like, it's just a cavern, and I'm not that interested in it because of that. So for me, but the boss and the mini boss are really fun to fight. I will give it that. So I think I'm probably just going to put Dodongo's Cavern at like C, because I don't dislike it, but I'm not like super into it either. It's just okay. So next up, we've got inside Jabu Jabu's belly. Now, I know a lot of people are quite on the fence with this dungeon because of the annoying thing of you have to keep going back to pick Ruto up. If you leave the room and leave her behind, she'll just go back to where she spawns every time. And I'll agree, that's really annoying. It's very annoying. But the concept of being inside a giant fish is really fun. I don't think the puzzles are that bad either. There's a lot of like weight-based button pressing, which is pretty fun because you just drop Ruto on the button or you drop a block on the button and stuff, and that's pretty good. The enemies are quite challenging. The mini boss, I have some fantastic memories with that mini boss. It scares me and it's anxiety inducing, but I actually do find it pretty fun. It's fun. It's just stressful. And I think Baronade is the hardest Young Link boss by far. It's so difficult, but it is also pretty fun. It's a challenge, I'll give it that, but it's pretty fun. So where am I going to put Jabu Jabu's belly? That's a really good question. Where do I want to put this? I might put this at B as well, because I can't... Because the thing is, the Deku Tree is the first dungeon, so it's not going to be like really difficult or anything like that. It's like, it's supposed to be the first dungeon. It's supposed to lead you into the game, right? But I also think Jabu Jabu's belly is pretty good, so I'm actually going to sit that at B. I mean, later on, I might change my mind when we start getting to the Adult Link dungeons, and I might be swapping them all over the place once I change my mind, but we'll see how that's going to go. Forest Temple. Oh, mate, this Forest Temple is easy, right? It's S. It is S. Get right up there right now. Off you go. Sit in the S tier where you belong. It's so good. Dungeon puzzles, brilliant. Mini boss, brilliant. Boss, brilliant. I haven't talked about music yet. Oh. Actually, I'm happy with where the Young Link dungeons are with that one, because the music, it's all good. It's not like it's just in the middle for me for music, but Forest Temple, music, S tier. S tier where, oh God, the Forest Temple's so good. It's like, every time I replay Ocarina, like, realistically, I just want to get to the Forest Temple. Like, I'm just, like, breezing through the Young Link part, because I just want to get to the Forest Temple, because it's just, chef's kiss, beautiful. Now, the Fire Temple is where things might get interesting, because personally, I think the Fire Temple is the weakest adult Link dungeon. I'm not that keen on it. The dungeon layout and puzzles and stuff, it's fine. It's not super engaging. Like, I really like the Forest Temple's use of the pause that you have to find around the dungeon. That makes that really interesting and engaging for me. But the Fire Temple, I'm just like, because you have to rescue the Gorons, which isn't like, it's not like it's bad. I'm just not as into it as like finding these spooky ghosts hidden around a mansion. It's just not as fun for me. The mini boss, is it the Flare Dancer? Yeah, I'm not that keen on them either. Like, they're not super fun to fight for me. It's just the fact that you have to keep throwing bombs and then chase it around this platform and stuff. It's not that interesting. Volvaggi is good though, but Volvaggi is also not as engaging as other battles, because there's that part where once you've hit Volvaggi will go in the air, and you just stand there and wait until Volvaggi comes back down again, and then you can continue on with hitting Volvaggi. So, but do you know what, Fire Temple, D tier. Sorry. The thing is, I don't even dislike any of these dungeons. It's just like the Fire Temple, for me, just isn't as good as the rest. It really isn't for me. Ice Cavern. Oh, where do I want to put the Ice Cavern? Because I don't mind the Ice Cavern. It's kind of good. The one thing I will say about the Ice Cavern is I'm a little bit gutted it doesn't have a proper end boss. Like, it just gives you a bigger Wolfos. And it's like, okay, here's your mini boss. And you're like, I've fought like 5 of these already. Like, this isn't... I was expecting like a different mini boss. So I think for that reason I have to put the bottom of the well above the Ice Cavern, because it does have a unique mini boss in it. But the Ice Cavern it's decent. But the thing is, do I want to rank the Ice Cavern more than the Fire Temple? Like, do you know what? I think I have to, because I actually enjoy the Ice Cavern. I would rather do the Ice Cavern than the Fire Temple. It does annoy me, but I would probably rather do that. So bottom of the well. Oh, but then I have to rank bottom. I do think bottom of the well is genuinely better than the Ice Cavern, because Dead Hand is terrifying. The whole thing is terrifying. It's really complicated to get around because you need the Lens of Truth for everything, and that kind of makes it fun for me. Like, when I was a kid, it was anxiety inducing and I hated the bottom of the well, but now, on retrospect, it's pretty good. I like it. I do like it quite a lot. Oh, do you know what? I might even put that at B, because I do really like the bottom of the well. It is really good. It's very good. Oh, and then here, right, this might be the part where like no one's going to agree with me, but I have to do it. I think the Water Temple is A. It's easily A. It's so good. If you take aside the fact that you have to keep putting the boots on and off and playing Zelda's Lullaby, which slows the temple down quite a bit, I think it's a really good dungeon. It really is. Like, all the puzzles are excellent. It's one of those dungeons that you genuinely get stumped in, and those are the dungeons that I think I really like the most, because I like having that challenge of, like, you walk around for a dungeon for like 20 minutes and you're like, I don't know what to do, and eventually you figure it out and you're like, oh, I just had to do this. Okay. So I've had many instances with Zelda games where you're like, oh, I already had to do this. But the Water Temple is good. Like, it is one that is frustrating when you're a kid and you just don't understand what to do. But I haven't even talked about Darkling yet. Darkling is, for me, the best mini boss in the whole game. It's so much fun. It's just the concept of fighting yourself is just brilliant. And the battle itself is so much fun. Like, you can actually do it without any weaponry whatsoever, just the Master Sword. It is possible to do it. It's hard, but it's possible. It's just such a fun fight. So good. And I actually quite like Morpher. Morpher's a little bit stressful, because, like, Morpher does do that thing where, like, the tentacle grabs you and throws you around, then you just go flying, and you're just stuck there for ages. But Yeah, I do like Morpha as well. Morpha's pretty fun. So yeah, do you know what? I'm just leaving the Water Temple in here because I think it deserves it. It is a really good dungeon, and I'm not even gonna. I love it. Shadow Temple. How do I feel towards the Shadow Temple? Because I know it is a dungeon that's very linear, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just is a feature of the dungeon. It's very linear, which its one weakness is you don't get a shortcut back to the room, like the rooms you're near, until basically near the end when you get that shortcut to the boat. So that is one weakness of that dungeon, is like there's no real shortcuts back to anywhere, which is, it's not like it's a bad thing, it's just something to note about it. It is decent. The only thing I've noticed when I was like replaying it for my playthrough of it is like there are so many puzzles that involve collecting silver rupees, and I hadn't noticed how many there actually were. There's like 3 in there, and after a while I was kind of like, is it another silver rupee puzzle? Is that all this dungeon is? It's just silver rupee puzzles? Okay. But it's pretty good. I do wish it had its own unique mini-boss. But then again, fighting Dead Hand again isn't exactly a negative either, because it is a pretty fun battle, although childhood me hated it because it meant I have to face my nightmares for like a second time and I didn't want to. Or actually though, Bongo Bongo might be... Would Bongo Bongo be my favourite boss in the game? Maybe, because Bongo Bongo is so hard. No, actually, it's probably Ganondorf's my favourite fight, but Bongo Bongo is the best, like outside the final bosses, my favourite boss. It's just brilliant. It's so hard, but it's so fun, and it makes you feel incredible when you finally beat Bongo Bongo because of how hard it actually is. Yeah, do you know what? Shadow Temple, I'm gonna put that at like B, I think. Do I want to move that up though? I'm thinking about it. Yeah, because I think, yeah, do you know what? Shadow Temple, I'm going to put it here because the whole concept behind the dungeon and stuff is brilliant. Like, it's genuinely probably, for me, it's probably the scariest Zelda dungeon we've ever had in Zelda history, ever. It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So next up, Spirit Temple. I like the Spirit Temple. I kind of like it the same as the Shadow Temple, though. I think they're kind of on equal footing. My only thing with the Spirit Temple, what is the mini-boss of the Spirit Temple? Oh, it's the Iron Knuckle. Oh, I do like Iron Knuckles a lot, actually. I really like Iron Knuckles. They're really fun to fight. My only downside with this dungeon is I think the Young Link portion is kind of a bit... It's like the weakness of the dungeon. Because I always feel like the Young Link part isn't tailored to Young Link in a way. Like, yeah, you can use a couple of Young Link's items. But like, I feel like if you could be Adult Link in that portion of that dungeon, you could do it the same. Like, there's nothing that specifically requires things from... I feel like there's not as much stuff that requires stuff from Young Link. I don't know, because I suppose you basically get the same items as Adult Link, as Young Link. You just get, instead of the bow, it's the slingshot. I guess I would have liked more Deku stick-based things. There's a couple in there. But it would have been nice to see a couple of returning Young Link enemies, like maybe the Dongos, because you see them as Young Link, Dekus, because you see them as Young Link, just more stuff that you encounter just as Young Link. I think I would have liked to see more of that, but the whole dungeon itself is pretty good. I do like it. I like the light puzzles. I wish there was more in the game of that, like in the dungeon even, with the light puzzles, because I think there's only like 3. I think there's only 3 or so. It would have been nice to see some more or different light puzzles. But then again, I suppose with the light puzzles, Wind Waker built on that. Wind Waker built on that and made it better for the Earth Temple. So I guess it's all fine, innit? But where do I want to put? Because Bongo Bongo is a brilliant boss. Twin Rover is pretty fun, but I find Twin Rover a little easy. And the second phase isn't all that engaging for me. It's just... hold the shield, wait for the magic to be absorbed, the magic shoots out, and then you just hit Twin Rover and win. So the battle ain't all that fun for me. So I'm probably going to put Spirit Temple at B, to be honest. It's not that it's bad, it's just I'm probably going to look at this list at the end and then like tweak it a little bit, because I'm going to have to figure out where I want to put what I want to put where again. Inside Ganon's castle. Now, do I really want to count the bosses for this? Because I guess I can count Ganondorf and then not the final segment. Because it doesn't have a boss key. But I guess it doesn't have a map and key either. It doesn't have a map and compass. But I suppose it is the last dungeon though. It's like the last thing you have to do. So I'm counting it. Like anything that could be counted as a dungeon in this, I'm just going to count it. Inside Ganon's castle. I quite like the use of the different elements. So you got forest, fire, water, shadow, spirit, light as the different rooms in the dungeon. It's quite an interesting like final dungeon, because the thing is there's a lot of final dungeons, like Wind Waker's does it, and I'm trying to think of any others where the final dungeon is like redoing segments you've already done, which I'm like not that keen on. I do like final I think Ocarina's final dungeon is a really solid one, because there's something really fun about like doing puzzles again, similar to what you've done in the dungeons prior. The only one that I think isn't that similar is the forest's wind room, because the only place you have wind, or you encounter wind, is in the Shadow Temple. But I can let that slide, it's fine. But I do really like Inside Ganon's castle. It is the last hurdle, the last challenge before the end, and it is really fun for that. So I don't want to put Inside Ganon's castle, because I don't want to include like other Zelda games' final dungeons into my like processes, because it's conflicting it with other Zelda games. I have to rank it as purely Ocarina only. And I kind of want to put it in B, but it's too big, so I'm going to have to shrink it down. Let's give it a squish. Sit it in there. There we go. Right. Now I'm going to have a look at this list. I want to decide if this is fine. Forest Temple S. That is where that's staying. It is S. It is S for super stunning. It's just that good. Water Temple and Shadow Temple in here. I do still agree with the Water Temple. And now I'm thinking, I don't have a single Young Link dungeon that is in here at all, and I am reconsidering, because I do quite like Baronade. I'm thinking about this. I'm really thinking about it. Do I want to move Jabu Jabu's belly up? Because I do think it is pretty good. I don't know. Inside the Deku Tree, I think that's pretty comfortable at B, because I can't put it any lower, because it is... I'd feel like I can't put it any lower because it is like the first dungeon. So like you have to be quite lenient on the first one. It's not meant to be like super mega difficult. Inside Jabu Jabu's belly, I do think that one is really good. Bottom of the Well, I'm happy with that in B, because it is really fun. Spirit Temple, yeah, I guess that can stay in B. Like, I like it, but that is exactly it. Do you know, B rank is just, I like it, but it doesn't stand out for me. I've just realised how really even this list is. Like, I've got 1 in S, 1 in D, 2 in A, 2 in C, and then all of B, just like for everything else, because I can't decide where to put it. Do you know what? I'm pretty happy with where this list is. I think this is how I feel on the dungeons. Because like I say, not a single dungeon in Ocarina is either E or F. Like, F is like, I never want to play this again. Just get rid of this dungeon. I don't want to see it. S is, just give me a whole Zelda game full of these dungeons, please. That's how I feel. And D's like, see, because for me, D is like, I don't really mind playing it again. But like, for me, it's like the weaker one. C is just, I don't know, C's fine. B's like, it's pretty good. A is brilliant, and S is just amazing. Amazing. I am pretty happy with this list, so I think this is where I'm gonna leave it. So thanks for giving this a watch. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I apologise. But yeah, I thought this was pretty fun, and I had a good time ranking all these dungeons. So I'll see you later. Bye!